And before, we started recording, you said to me something that, is said in a lot of Black households, what goes on in this house stays in this house. Did your mother's family know about the abuse? Your grandmother,
They
your uncle,
they knew.
they knew?
They knew. I was kind of a mouthy child growing up. So even though what goes on in the home stays in the home, I still told my grandmother what happened. I would still tell my uncle what happened. And I remember they came over to the house to have a meeting to confront the abuser, to like, okay, we know what's going on. This is going on. And my grandmother would tell me, because I would always call her when something happened, and she would say, Megan, call the police instead. Call the police instead. But you didn't call the police. But I would start to call the police. And I called the police one time, and it was like, oh gosh, these little once scared children aren't being scared anymore. Like, okay, so it kind of did stay in the home, but I didn't tell my friends. I didn't tell my teachers. I didn't tell my counselors. I just told like my grandmother and my uncle, and they knew what was going on.
All right.
And a time when I realized I was no longer afraid was when Douglas was on his rampage. Me, my mother, my sister were out washing clothes, having a good old time washing clothes and folding clothes. He kept calling my mom. And I picked up. I said, hello. He's like, where's your mother? And I said, we're washing clothes. He said, you lying. She ain't washing no clothes. Y'all ain't washing no clothes. I said, we're washing laundry. He went on cussing and all that. I just hung up the phone. He was at my auntie's house at the time. He went over there to go see his brother. And we went over there to go pick him up. And he was, threatening her and all this. And I got so tired of him threatening my mother. I got in his face. And I can't remember everything I said. But I must have told him, if you ever threaten my mother again, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. I cussed him out. And you're not supposed to speak that way to your elders. But I looked up at my mom, and she had this pleasant smile on her face. She didn't say nothing. And I was like, so maybe I'm not in trouble. And I fussed him out, told him like how good my mother is to him, how much we help him. How dare you come at her this way? And he said nothing. The look in his face was like, oh my gosh, these are not the little kids no more. These kids are growing up. They are no longer afraid. They're becoming tough and strong. And the whole ride, we got him in the car because he was paralyzed. The whole ride to the house, he didn't say nothing. And me and Ray were in the back seat. And I was so filled with so much anger. I was thinking I should just punch him in the back of his head. I should just choke him right now. Anything, because I was so filled with so much hate for him. How dare he disrespect my mom after she's taking him back in, helping you get back on your feet, and you dare try to disrespect her again? So we got him back to the house. We got him into the living room. And me, my mother, my brother Dorian was at the house. Me, my mother, and Dorian, we all went out to eat at Golden Corral. We left him at the house. And when we got to Golden Corral, my mother said, Megan, I wouldn't change nothing you said. I would just change how you said it, because no matter what, you are still a child and he's still an adult. But other than that, I wouldn't change nothing you said. And I was so happy. I didn't get a beating or nothing. It was like a new level in the house, And I must say, after I fussed him out and told him about himself, it was like peace in the house for like 2 weeks. He watched what he said. He watched what he did. He didn't hardly do any bad thing up until her passing. But it was like, these kids are older now. These kids are no longer afraid. These kids will come at me, and we would have. So that's when I realized fear had left. Anger took over, which anger is not great either. But to me, anger was better than fear, because I could face him now. I could protect him better. And he knew it. He knew it as well. So
how long was Douglas in your lives?
Let's see. I was still in elementary school. So I would say from maybe like 5th grade up until my 9th grade year. I'm trying to count how many years that is. But up to my 5th grade year up until my 9th grade year.
Yeah. 4.5, maybe 5 years.
Yeah, they were together. Yeah.
Mm, yeah. Okay. So I'm looking at this beautiful picture of you and your husband and your baby
Oh, thank
behind
you.
you.
Yes.
And like you said, it took you a long time to trust men and to trust just I'm sure people in general. Um, what was that healing process like for you? What did it consist of?
Um, to not hold things in, and that was my issue. I had to know who to talk to, who you could confide in. And sometimes it's better, I've learned it's better to not even talk to family or friends because they can be biased. Sometimes you have to talk to a complete stranger and even talk to someone who has gone through the process before. Um, and I haven't had anybody whose mother or anything passed away, but I've talked to plenty of abused victims that survived. And then when I tell them my story, which I rarely told, they look at me like, this really happened to you? So you're not on drugs? You didn't prostitute? I mean, all the scenarios you thought that I would become, I've overcome all of them. I didn't drop out of high school. I didn't have a baby in high school. Not that people who have babies, anything wrong, I'm telling my own personal testimony. But because we lost our mother and how we lost our mother, so much things have been brought on us of what we would become. And to say we've become none of them, I think that we turned out pretty well.
Yes, you have, Megan. Yes, you have. And you're hilarious. I just want you to know that. I watch your Facebook videos. I'm like, oh my God, this girl is crazy. Do you think that your humor is a part of your healing process?
I think so because I never considered myself. I knew I was funny. I would always, even as children, I would always make Ray and Dorian laugh. We would always make ourselves laugh, and I just tell what like really happens. And that's I think why my videos are so hilarious because they're true. They are really true. I may put my little spin on them, but they're true videos. So and that does make me laugh because I never saw myself as a comedian. But some people say you should try comedian. I'm thinking really,
Oh
but
my God, yes, yes. Yes.
I just when things happen, I just like to share it. And if I can make other people laugh, and the feedback that I get from the videos of people saying how I made their day or this really made their day laughing, it brings about a lot. Because I'm not that gloomy person with the mask anymore that hides a sad face. I'm really happy. The mask is gone. So I just let that kind of show out in my adult life now.
I'm so happy to hear that. What words of advice and comfort, or, well, let's start with this. When someone's going through domestic violence or witnessing domestic violence, what words can someone on the outside offer to let them know that it's safe to communicate what's going on?
You have to get out. Don't hold all that in, especially if you have children. Your children are suffering as well. You need to seek help. Don't be afraid. Don't care if your life is threatened because you're probably better off leaving than staying. Um, Reach out. There's so much domestic violence communities out here now that probably was available when it happened to us, but we didn't know. But reach out to those agencies that are in secret and in private and that'll help you and give you money and help you relocate if it's that dramatic and that serious. But before a situation, you can kind of see what people are before things get seriously bad. And don't ignore those signs of violence. People really show you who they are. Believe them, listen to them. Don't always brush everything off in the name of love, in the name of staying in some toxic relationship. And like any other Black mother, I'm sure my mother just wanted to make her relationship work. I'm sure she just wanted to, get us a father figure kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like any other Black women, you just try to make the relationship work. But it just went on too long and she just basically got tired. But I would tell people, seek help. You don't have to tell your abuser you're leaving, but slowly put away money, slowly have an escape plan. And don't have to let them know, just so that way when it's time to go, you can just go in ease. You don't have to be dependent on that person or anything like that. Um, oh gosh. Yes.
And I want to kind of clarify this because a lot of times people think that the person being abused, especially if they're a woman or man, is weak, or they're simple-minded or stupid. And that's so not the case, because listening to the way you describe your mother was a powerhouse. And if someone out there is listening and you're in an abusive relationship, please take heed to those words. It doesn't make you dumb or stupid or weak that you've ended up in this situation. If all of us were to be honest, we've all ended up in some type of foolishness. Mm-hmm. And we've all had to overcome something, but just like you said, get out, get away. Are you aware of any of the signs? And before we kind of go into this, neither Megan nor myself, correct me if I'm wrong, is a mental health or an abuse relationship specialist. But no, we're having a conversation here based on common sense, just as a disclaimer, because people sometimes will take your word as gospel, and neither one of us are a mental health professional. But what signs, you said a minute ago, you can kind of see where people are. What signs are just obvious red flags to you?
Signs that I've seen are threatening. Some threats you can kind of blow off your shoulder. But if you're being threatened all the time, if someone aggressively grabs you, even yelling, yelling is a sign as well, always getting heightened up. And even to this very day, if me and my husband have a disagreement, he cannot yell at me because I am so traumatized with yelling. I can't be yelled at because it never gets that heightened in my home. And if it has, we'll bring it down, but it never has. But he knows he can't yell at me because what happened to me in my childhood. I'm still traumatized by the arguing that I used to hear as a child because I knew it went from arguing to hitting. So being loud voices, being threatened all the time. If someone puts their hands on you to try to, I'm not saying put their hands on you to protect themselves, like you're trying to hit somebody. No, if they're like putting their hands on you and throwing you up against the wall, jacking you up, things like that are all signs to me that you may not have a stable person on your hands who will not hit you. They're more likely to hit you if they're that kind of individual. So those are things that I would look out for. To anybody out there dating somebody, it may not be so. This, like I said, it's just my personal testimony, my experience, what I saw that led up to what a person or an abuser would look like, and that's clearly what it was for me.
Okay, let's talk about forgiveness for a second. Have you forgiven him?
I have. And this is why I have forgiven him. For years, I haven't. Oh, I was mad, still mad. But I realized that he took his own life. I would not want to be feeling what he felt in that moment. He must have been feeling low and depressed and hurt because he was a man and I'm pretty sure he wasn't taught how to share his feelings because his mother also was abused. His mother would come and visit us sometime and she would tell us how she was abused by his father. And he's picked up the same thing his father used to do. And in their home, you don't talk about feelings. You don't talk about, you don't cry. You're a man. You have to be tough all the time. So I used to think, what was he feeling in that moment? I wouldn't have want to felt. I actually prayed for him. Even though I know when you passed away, prayer is not more effective, but he must have been so broken and so hurt inside to have taken his own life and have taken my mother's because she was the only good thing he had. Even his sister said that. Cynthia was the only good thing he had, and he took that away because she was leaving. She didn't want to be with him anymore. So, and also because he also has children. His children must have been affected by this as well. His daughter, his son, I'm sure they were affected by this as well. So I couldn't just think of myself. At the time, I was just thinking about me, my brother, and my sister because it happened to our mother. I wasn't thinking about his kids. I wasn't thinking about him. But as I grew up, I realized he has children as well. They're going to grow up without a father. He's going to have grandkids. They're not going to get to know him. But I had to forgive him so that I don't hold grudges against men and thinking all men are like him. And that way I don't grow up to be some run over, hateful woman who hate men. And I don't, because I have a son now and I have to raise my son to respect women as well as he needs to learn respect as well. Don't be hit, but don't also be hitting on women as well. So yeah, forgiveness. I have totally forgiven him. Absolutely.
At any point, did you resent or kind of blame your mother for any of this?
I did. I wish she didn't take him back in. I wish that when he was in the hospital, we went to go see him in the hospital, and he asked my mother to marry him. He asked my mother to marry him. And he also apologized to me, my brother, and my sister for everything he's ever done, for anything he's ever said. And me, my brother, and my sister, we just put our head down. And my mother, after we left the hospital, she was laughing. She said, y'all didn't say anything. Y'all just put your head down, because he never apologizes for nothing. And now he's in this bed. He can't walk. He's at his lowest, and he's apologizing. Thank you for the apology, but I don't want it.
What you want me to do with that?
Yeah, it's done with the situation now. And my mother, of course, denied his proposal. She's not going to marry you. I mean, this relationship is over. So that's what I thought. Like, at his lowest moment, he's like, okay, she's still stuck with me through all this. Let me ask her to marry me now. Let me apologize to these kids so we can start being a real family. But the damage was so done. My mother was finished with all that. And the only reason she let him back in the house was because his sister came to my mom and told my mom that he's on his dying bed. That's the only reason why she went to the hospital to see him. They came to the house and say, go see him, see how he's doing. She said no. And my sister said, Cynthia, he's on his dying bed. And that's why she went. But she was done. And she let him, like I said, come back into the home because his family wasn't going to take him. I don't know how the nursing home thing was going, but he needed some place to go. So he came back so he can get his health and his strength back. And I guess he thought he could kind of woo my mama back into a relationship like he always did. Say you're sorry, say you love her, things like that. But she had enough. And it didn't work this time.
Wow. Now, if you don't mind, I'm going to ask, what did the conversations with your husband look like when you guys first started dating? What was it like to share what you had gone through? I'm pretty sure that put you in a very vulnerable position.
It did, because I never talked about my mom. I always talked about my dad. And it was as if, do you have a mom? Because I would never talk about her. Even now, still, I've not talked about her in a super long time. And then till one day we were in my car and I finally told him what happened. And it was like, whoa. Like, in my apartment, I had a picture of my mom, of course, and things like that. But I wouldn't expound on her. But then I finally told him in detail what happened, so he could kind of understand my background and where I came from, and understand why I can't be yelled at, understand why I don't tolerate certain mannerisms, certain things of that nature, even if he'll be joking. My husband will say something all the time. He'll be like, I'll slap you over, but he'll laugh and joke. And I don't feel threatened by it or anything. I know he's not going to really do it. I know I just told people to look out for threats, but I know when he's doing it, he's not threatening me like we just had an argument, threatening me like he's going to beat me up. It'll be like I took a fry off his plate. Babe, I'll slap you now. Don't pat my hand. Don't take my fry off my plate. That kind of thing. Or, tap my thigh or something like that. That's his I'll slap you. But that's what that conversation was like. So he knew my background and where I came from and why it took me so long, because he would say the same thing. You don't have any children. You've never been married. What's going on? You're such a beautiful girl. What's going on? What happened? And it just took me that long to evaluate the good from the bad apple, so to say, and to make a decision to even be married, because I was done. I wasn't going to get married. I wasn't going to have children. What happened to my mom traumatized me for years. And I didn't want to have nothing to do with marriage or children or anything like that. But he came around and, I had some relationships that were serious, but we never made it that far. But my husband, he came in and showed me a different light. He's an example of a great man. He's a great father, a great husband to me. He has because he comes from a Nigerian background, he has strong upbringings himself. Which I can relate to. His parents been married for over 40 something years. So, and he says he has 17 brothers and sisters, 17 of them. So, yeah, I think I've chosen well. And yeah.
Well, Megan, I know that a part of your healing is that you want to give back to others and talk to people who have maybe experienced similar things. So is there a way that people can contact you, an email address or a way for them to contact you if should someone need to talk to someone?
Absolutely. My email address is megan.sellers1986@gmail.com. My contact number will be area code 803-357-1230. Those are normally the best ways to get in contact with me. My Facebook name is still Megan Sellers. If anybody want to inbox me on there as well, they can do that. But those are mostly my main two contact information that they can get in contact with me.
Okay. And I'm going to say this just because, you just shared your number online. I'm posting this on my profile and my business page. And you guys know this is a place of love. We keep it really cute over here. We don't do drama and harassing and bullying and trolling. So do not contact Megan unless you are someone that needs her help or needs to speak about what they're going through. Do not reach out to her with any foolishness, please, because she's being kind enough to share her story and her testimony and her information for those who need it. So, Megan, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing today. Your testimony is just beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So I'm going to do a quick close and then I'm going to start recording. But as you guys know, this is Joelle Simone Anthony, the Grave Woman. I've been speaking with beautiful Megan here, and live life, love hard, and we look forward to seeing you guys next time.
Absolutely.